like wanna like ask me things or clarify things, it's much easier for me to read the chat. And then I can answer the question, and then I guess if somebody wants to talk, we can talk. But it's much easier if I can read a question, like, and then I would answer it as it comes. And yeah, as we're getting started, maybe you guys can tell me. So the topic today is about emotional eating and how, I guess, food as addiction would be another one, or like overall addictions and why we have them, and what are some tools that we can use to kind of overcome some of the addictions to help us as we move into the maybe healthier lifestyles, or whatever your goal is. But yeah, I would, if like each maybe can say a little bit in the chat, and just tell me like what's your hope, like what are you hoping to gain from it, what are you hoping to maybe learn from it, maybe you have some questions, so that'll help me to like have some information about you and your interests. So as I talk, I don't talk just to like empty space, but I like talk directly to you. Is everybody hear me okay? Can I get thumbs up, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would like if you guys if you haven't watched the previous one, I guess I'll say a little bit about myself. I am Russian. I am from Latvia. I've been living in the United States for 20 years. Almost 20 years. I am a clinical psychotherapist, so I run my private practice. I work with individuals and couples for about 10 years now. I also Kundalini Yoga certified teacher. I don't currently teach, but just because I also raised 3 humans and 2 cats in a garden. So that takes a lot of my time. As far as my fasting experience, I've started about 8 years ago or so, with a Kaddishi twice a month. I would do like a dry fast, 36 hours, and then that was fun. Then I paused it with my pregnancy, as I've mentioned, and then I've returned again to like do like a weekly ones. And then last year, about exactly a year ago in April, I did 7-day, almost 8-day dry fast. And right now I got back to like alternate days where like I eat one day and I don't eat another day, starting like just this month, April. So that's been really great. So if any of you want to ask any of these like, questions about my experience, so what happened, I've talked a little bit last time about how it was hard for me to get the motivation. Like I think when I did the 7-day fast, the dry fast, I wasn't ready. Like, and I didn't get adequate emotional support. So when I did it, but then the payback was kind of not as great. Like I lost the motivation. I couldn't find the reason why would I want to fast, even though I knew it felt really good. But so it took me like almost a year to get back to like where I feel okay. And now I'm starting in a like very different mindset with my fasting, and even like moving away from the word fasting and going to like freedom from food, and that helps the brain. So as I'm talking, I don't see anybody texting anything or messaging anything. So if you guys inviting questions still. But as far as like addiction and food goes, so any addiction per se, like, you know, we have a stronger addictions, alcohol and drugs and caffeine and cigarettes, and then they go to like maybe more comfort food and less comfort food, but it's all the reason we have like of these, like the reason we have any needs, I guess, to eat is for the some sort of like coping mechanism, some sort of emotional, like to help us to regulate our emotions. And like if I ever talk to like any of my like clients about addictions, it would be like you cannot stop a behavior, right? Like if, for instance, like I'm smoking a pack a day, and like it helps me to get through the day one way or another. If I stop, I need to like I can't just stop. It has to be replaced by something else. Like whatever emotions I get from smoking, I use smoking, but it doesn't have to be smoking. It can be eating ice cream, or it can be eating period, or drinking anything. Like whatever emotions I get from that act has to be replaced with something. So if we're talking about food, it's also can be ranked from like healthier food or like less healthier food, or like food that really damaging to our body, to like healthier food. But as we moving hopefully toward like a healthier food and healthy option, um for once identifying what's the reason, like what do we gain when we eat? Like what state do we have, like mental state do we have when we have tendencies to reach for one food or another? And notice that for once, like without judgment, I always make a parallel to like I'm also an educator in the past. I used to teach school. And if you were to teach somebody to do something, you're not going to jump, like if you like a proficient in it one task, for instance, I don't know, whatever task. Like, let's say you want to teach child reading, right? And you have a 10-year-old child who's supposed to read at the 5th grade level. You're not going to jump automatically and assume that they know how to read at the 5th grade level. You will assess them and see where they are. And if they at the kindergarten level, you would provide them that level of instructions and then slowly move to like a higher level. So same thing as when you try to make any changes within yourself and try to move to like one like healthy lifestyle, or for whatever reason you try to make any like changes, identifying yourself where you are, where like right at this moment, what happens when you get home, what's the first thing you do? If you're working, what do you first thing to do? Okay, well, I feel like I need to grab a bag of chips and sit in front of the couch, in front of TV on the couch and watch TV, and that's comes like soothing for me. So like then you slow it down, that whatever behavior that is, and you really identify that, okay, so I come home and I'm really stressed out from work, or I had a hard day at work and I was stressed and nervous, and I can't wait to like come home and get like, and it doesn't have to be a bag of chips. It can be whatever it is, but we seek the comfort in food, right? So slow it down and identify that behavior, and then maybe replace that behavior by something else and say, okay, well, maybe when I come home, the first thing I do, I change clothes. I go take a shower, and then I change clothes, and then maybe I'll have that 15 minutes to myself where I can regulate myself using some other tools versus food. Because we go for food like when we bored, right, tired and emotionally dysregulated a lot of times, and then it's a lot less for hunger, actual physical hunger. So like think about that. Think about some of those behaviors that you do as if like for me, for instance, um I have, I guess, evolved within the years, but like if I have a hot tea, I feel like I need to eat something sweet with it. So I moved from like away from chocolate, and I started eating dry fruit, and then I moved away from dry fruit and I started eating frozen fruit, and now I moved away from frozen food. But like that kind of crunch, like, I have that crunch, and I try to evolve to where like, okay, now if I want to drink something warm, I just drink something warm without eating something. If I have the need to eat, I identify and I don't judge myself. That's why I talked about meeting yourself where you are. You kind of identify and you say, okay, well, today is really crappy day. I feel like I have to do this. I have to like eat ice cream or eat fruits or eat sweet, whatever. And you meet yourself where you are and you say, okay, well, tomorrow I'll try something else instead and see how I do. And if you do okay, just accept that, like without any like push into it. So think about like replacing, like identifying some sort of unwanted like behavior that you do as an impulse, and slow it down and really identify like what's the secondary purpose or actually primary purpose you're serving by eating or by doing whatever like behavior that you don't want, right? For once you identify, and then find something maybe equally as enjoyable. Maybe get a massage, or maybe like take a hot bath, or maybe watch a funny video or something, right? Like something equally as enjoyable, but not food, right? And then or not whatever that food, but try to find something different. And then next time when you feel the strength, when you feel the motivation, go to that is something that you've chosen, an alternative, and see how you do without any judgment. Maybe, you know, go for a walk. When I studied addiction, and I don't hold the current certification for addiction, but I used to have, one of the things that I've learned, that between this desire of like, oh my gosh, I have to have this ice cream, or I have to have this chocolate, or I have to eat, like, you know, if you are to take a break from food, there's a 10 minutes. If you can hold for 10 minutes from this identifying like impulse, right, to like you can hold for 10 minutes and then reevaluate where you are. Is it equally as important for you to eat now? So if you can like trick yourself, trick your mind for this 10 minutes, then evaluate, most likely you have a different results for that. So that would be one thing. And also like getting away from the mind of deficit and going to the mind of abundance. Like one of the things that I personally have noticed when I a long time ago started with the idea of fasting, or like have like food-free days, is the fear, right? We like for some, and that's the fear that led us to survive for like generations and thousands of years as of like human species. It's like a need for food, right? Like we constantly like kind of like need food to survive, or I don't know. I'm hearing different things right now, but as I'm listening to some other lectures, but overall, like this fear of like, am I going to eat, and am I going to get food, and what's going to happen if I don't eat? What's going to happen if I don't eat for 3 days or for 5 days or whatever? Am I going to die? So that fear of like not eating, and so thinking about that, and maybe re-evaluating, and thinking about what you gain when you like break from food, if that's your third. I haven't seen any questions. It would be very nice if you guys can type in something. Um, so so thinking about that, like what helps me personally, like on the days where I don't eat, like I feel so much more clarity. I have so much more energy. I am like very thank you, Eric. I'm very I don't know, very focused and energetic, and it's just like I have noticed that I'm looking forward to this kind of a dry day, so like good times without food, and that's been my kind of a motivation for myself to like not go to food or drinks, because it just like that helps me personally. I think so Arik is asking what's my what is your internal So right now, like I've done like 20, like when I don't eat or drink for 20 hours, and then I just start with juice, and then I eat like one meal, and like I'll go for another like 20 hours. So 20/4 for a good year or so. And like right now, from the April, I've been doing alternative days fasting. So I go for about 36 to 40 hours without food. So right now I think I'm on a 42 hours without food or drink. And then I'll eat and like drink and eat, and then I'll go back to like the same. So like one day and night I don't eat, the other day like I eat, but I make this window very small. Simply, I don't know, it helps me. Some people like to like differently, but for the beginning, I think it's good to again evaluate where you are, what's your what's your motivation, what's your needs, and also then just decrease this window of like food intake and increase of window of fasting. That helps me. So some people ask like worried about energy. I can tell you that yesterday, so last time I ate, today's Friday, last time I ate was Wednesday. So for instance, like yesterday I rode my bike for 30 kilometers. Today I ran 10 kilometers, and I haven't eaten yet or drank, and I'm not even thirsty. But like we talked, like I've talked last time, that all depends on how like clean your body is and how prepared you are for any fasting. So like I think, or any like breaks from food. So it's very important to like really meet yourself where you are. So please ask some questions. Or I can, I guess, continue talking. Something else I was thinking about, like replacing and moving from like a heavier food to like a lighter food helps. So something that like I personally, and it happened to me, like I've never forced anything for myself. Like 20 years ago, I was eating meat and didn't know that like such thing as vegetarians exist or vegans exist, or what do they do. And I was working out and I was going to the gym, and we had this challenge where I was kind of forced, like I signed up for this challenge, and then like, oh, you need to take some stretching, and yoga was part of stretching. So that's how I got into yoga. And like I think about a year and a half or 2 years later, I realized that I'm not eating meat. So and I'm like, so I started, like, internet wasn't as big then, and but that's how my vegetarian journey began. And then as I kind of eat more, just to figure out like eggs probably not also something that I want to like eat. And then like, and that was before this information was available on the internet. So slowly, but listening to your body, like always try to go for like more healthy food, more healthy options for yourself, and then less healthy options. Um, so as I was talking about the cleansing procedures, and like the cleaner your body is, the easier it is for you to fast, and easy it is for you to like go for the long time without food and water, without even thinking about it. Would be so what have I done? What kind of bowl cleansing regular? So I am not doing anything on a regular basis right now. Before I've entered the 7-day cleanse, I have um, I have done 30-day I guess cleansing, where like I've started. I think it was more. It was 40 days. I've started taking scram. Is some like herbs with like antiparasites, where you drink for 10 days, and that helps. So I've done that. I've done colonic therapy, where they like stick stuff up to your butt and like it cleans your intestinal a couple of times. I've done the 30-day Schultz cleaning. and that helped a lot. Like the first time I did it, it does intestinal cleaning first, and then it's the liver, kidney, and then ends with intestinal cleaning. And I felt like a lot of like parasites like was removed with that, because my own food preferences have changed, and like our craving for food is so depends on like the parasites that live within us, because they kind of crave whatever food, and then we eat it to supply them with that. So I've done that, and I've done, I guess, fair amount of like intestinal I don't know what's the name for it when you drink like a salty water, but it's not salty water. I drink like a soda water, and it just kind of cleanses the intestinals. Like I don't from like out, and then to like clear water. So I've done that a couple of times. I feel like it's very rough on the body, but I also feel like I am where I am now because I've done those before in the past. I don't have a like feel or need to do it now. When I've started this other every other day fasting, I was concerned about constipation and having a bowel movement. But as I'm eating raw food and a lot of this like I try not to mix food that don't come together well. I have a like very regular cleansing on its own. So that has helped. Tanya asked if I consume. I don't eat salt per like I'm not. Again, I don't. I try to like not be very like one way or another. So like for instance, if I want to eat like a cashew butter that I'm like addicted to, and I want to like have like a 2 spoons of that or whatever, and it has salt, if I, the one in the house that has salt, I'll have it, and that's not a big deal. But like on a regular basis, I don't even like salt, or like I have a need for it. But I've moved away from it like in a long time, so I don't crave it as much. Also, when I cook for my family, I don't use salt when I cook. I add salt later, and it requires a lot less salt when you do it this way. I'm not again like against or for anything, or try to like convince anybody for it, but I think we have enough salt as is, like with other foods, and the need for the salt again, I think, is to satisfy some parts of your brain, and also some sort of like a social stigma of like, oh, we need salt to, I don't even know why we need salt, but the answer is no, I don't. I don't eat salt. I don't eat refined sugar either. I have eaten honey or like maple syrup, like on the like here and there. I've stopped that, but it's again like I don't have like halo or wings or whatever. Like I have quit caffeine again, and I've done it before for several years, and then I'll kind of like go back to that. But then when I go back to that, then I can't fast as effectively as I'm doing now. So the cleaner your body is, the less of this like drugs you're using as a caffeine or chocolate or sugar, the easy it is for you to go like without food, without even thinking of the need for the food. So that's been my experience. I wonder what your guys' experience are. So the other thing is, maybe somebody writing a question, still hoping for that. But some other experiences with so replacing, like finding activities that you really like and enjoy instead of food, because we get emotions when we eat. We get happiness, we get joy, we get satisfaction. Different people like maybe soft food or crunchy food or whatever food, and it gives us some sort of satisfaction to that. So as we evolve as individuals and we find some other like replacements in our life, that maybe you like walking or dancing or massage or hanging out with the friends or reading a book or recording a lecture, like finding something that you're very passionate about and doing this exercise or doing this activity instead of eating and not really thinking about it would really helps to like move away from this, like, oh, we have to eat 3 times a day or something happens to us. Um, Eric is asking why the food is so addictive and what happens to the brain when we eat. So without any, like, I haven't like review the parts of the brain, but there is this. Let me think. So for once, is this like oral fixation, I guess, like if everybody have taken like Psychology 101 and Dear Freud, but I don't like, I mean, he made a lot of good points. And one of the good point is that the oral fixation, and then we get pleasure when a certain part of our life, when we're learning through food, and the food is, or like putting things in our mouth, it's some sort of satisfactory for us. And a lot of times when we don't like get enough of that, at this early age, kind of continues on, and then we have food addictions. But so is that like, for once, is that like actually putting something in your mouth and like tasting it? It's the happy receptors or satisfying receptors is there, and it will like satisfy that, but also this like if we operating from the fear and deficit again, right? Like, oh, what's going to happen if I'm not going to eat now? Well, you're going to have food tomorrow. Like, it's not like we live in a jungle where we have to hunt for food, or like if people come and eat a lost coconut for a year and then we'll have no coconut. But like
Anna, I'm sorry, I've just got a notification from Zoom that because they limit by 40 minutes, that it will finish soon. But then I'm going to create another link. I'm going to post it in the group, so then it will just take 5-7 minutes, and then we'll meet here again once it's over. Okay,
sounds good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so as if we get disconnected, there will be another link in WhatsApp, and then I'll connect to that. Again, I'll have a little bit more time today, but not a whole lot, than an hour. So, sorry, my daughter is here. Что это поцарапало? Я сейчас поговорю и потом приду. Мишка, ну хорошо, зайка. Возьми мой телефон, можешь посмотреть чуть-чуть мультики с Николасом, да, на кровати иди. So that's what I think happens. Like, it gives us, and it's also like numbs us. Like, if you think like why we like consume anything, we consume either to like calm us down or to stimulate us. Like, even for like alcohol or coffee or like any sedatives, like we either like stimulate or calm us down. So we eat, and then when we eat, like I don't know, I think it numbs us and we don't become as alert. But it's also known versus not known. And that's why it's helping, like if you create these dry days without food and water, you kind of build that muscle, and then as you extend that period of time, your muscle gets stronger. And then you don't, like next time you go back to that, you're much easier and lighter to experience that, and not to go for food when you need some sort of comfort. But like food is, again, like it's some sort of emotional satisfaction. So when we don't have enough love, or we don't feel good about ourselves, we feel not good enough, we feel like not enough, or we feel like something happened in outside world that we need some sort of satisfaction or some sort of like reassurance, like food is always there. I have one of the things that I do with some of my clients, like they depends, like a food and money, like I like to work with both, but they write a letter to like a dear food. And that's really good practice, actually, if you are trying to move away from some of the food addictions. It's to write a letter to food and to say like, hey, dear food, what happens, like, you are so important to me, or I'm so scared that I'm not going to have enough, or I'm looking forward to meet you every day. Like, what is actually your relationship with food? Again, like where like I've started from the beginning, like meeting yourself where you are. And if you decide to write this letter, it will really help you to identify the things that, like, what is food, what food means to you. When do you go for food? Like that would be like, hey, food, when I'm sad, I feel like eating something sweet. And I've talked about like how sweet associated with celebration and feeling good. So we turn to that when we said for the emotional comfort. Like when everything fails, ice cream is always there. So writing that letter, like really honest a letter to a food, and kind of identifying the fears and what are you looking for when you turn into food for, and having that as a baseline for yourself. And that, even that, like that is like that practice is so powerful that I found that many of my clients have started being more mindful with eating, and how they some preferences start changing. So something also that I've talked, again, I guess I'll repeat, I think is very important, is identifying your goals. So meeting yourself where you are, right? So I go for food when I'm sad, I go for food when I'm anxious, I go for food when I feel out of control. That's a big thing. Um, so going, like, identifying where you are, and then identifying where you want to be, right? So where would you like to be? Oh, I like to be, maybe like if you drink coffee, like somebody who wakes up and they take a cold shower, or instead of drinking coffee, and that's how they get energized. And I like to be the one who, maybe eat once a day or twice a day instead of like 5 times a day. I like to be the one that eats like small portion. Like really identify where you want to be. And writing, like actually paper and pencil writing or paper and pen writing, is really powerful as well. When you identify where you would like to be, really develop that image and really imagine, like, how would it be if I don't eat one day a week? Oh, I would have maybe this and this, and I would feel this, but I would also have these fears. Or how would it be if I do this intermittent fasting and I, don't eat for 20 hours a day, every day? What would be my fears? Well, my fears would be that maybe my relatives will judge me, and maybe when I go to gatherings, I would have a harder time to, like, not to, like, how would I socialize if I don't have food in my hands? I don't know. You just socialize, but like identifying the hardships, but also like I would like to be this one who is in control of my actions, who is not like a sheep led by society or led by some information. So identify that if you're drinking coffee right now, but your goal is not to drink coffee, as you drink coffee, enjoy it if you've decided to enjoy it. And then have in the back of your mind, maybe like one day I will have just the same or greater satisfaction when I drink juice or drink water. Okay, so I see Eric have sent the Zoom link to the group. So I guess we have about 2 minutes till we get disconnected, and then we'll just re-enter with a new link. So that would be basically my thing. So I guess we can leave and come back. I would like to see everybody else again, and please ask some questions if you will, or I'll just continue talking for another 20 minutes. That will be fine too. So we'll talk more about like the goals and how to maybe identify the hardships and how to find the motivation and what does it take to get where you are still, like without any force, like so it will be more natural and flowy. Says 1 minute, but we're not getting disconnected. Should we just continue on and see if it continues? Okay. All right. So like we met ourselves where we are. So maybe writing a letter to food and relationship with food will help. Then identifying the goals, identifying where you want to be and really have a good image of that. Like I when I had the 7-day fast last year and this year, and I wasn't ready. Like honestly, I wasn't ready. It took me so far to where I wasn't ready. And in a year, as I was like getting back together, basically, I've gained a lot of weight. Like I was eating like more than I usually would, and I've gained weight. Like I've gained weight. Like this is my normal weight right now, but I've gained, I think, extra maybe 5 kilos, 10 pounds. And like I felt it, like my clothes felt it, and like it was kind of funny, like having like pillows around you, like